welcome everybody. Thank you so much. I'm Nina Fiore, the director of the festival and the founder. And just so you know, all of the people helping out, projection, tickets, filming, are all our film fellows. So they're high school and college students who work with us throughout the year on a number of projects and also on the festival. So thank you to all of them, because I wouldn't be able to do this without you. Thank you to all of you, because I also wouldn't be able to do this without you. So I appreciate that. I'm so sorry, Mike.
Oh, okay, I'm comfortable.
So I just want to thank you all. Like, I love your work. I think you're wonderful, and I appreciate you being here. So just want to start, Heather, with Jace. If we can go down the line, just say your name and the film that you worked on.
I'm Jace Weyant, and I did Hideous House, the last one.
I'm Darby, and I directed Non-Union Girl Episode 2 and Compost Like a Pug.
Did you just get engaged today?
I did!
I was like, oh my God, is she coming tonight? Like, did you know?
To the editor of both projects.
Yay, congratulations, you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's wonderful. That's such great.
Hi, I'm Sajda, and I was part of Wormholes.
I'm Courtney Romano, and I directed Screen Test.
Mark Stolzenberg. I directed my father's fabulous funeral.
And starred in it.
Yes, and wrote the screenplay.
I'm Mike Fodera. I'm the writer and director of Prisoner 1616.
Welcome. And just an amazing lineup, truly, as you can see.
Thank you.
How did you kind of first get your idea to do the film, and how did you get started? Like, what we often in class, you know, we discuss how do you start? Like, is it an outline? Is it a lookbook? Is it a shot list? Like, what's your method? Like, how do you get started?
Me?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Back down
So
that
this is my fourth short film, and I.
Wait, and Mike's comedy last year won Best Comedy. Just
Yes. We had Jace. It was a comedy film, also filmed in Astoria. And the first three shorts, I just wanted to make something, and then I'm like, oh, let me try to turn it into a feature. But you can't fool me 4 times. So this time I actually wrote the feature first, and this Prisoner 1616 is a proof of concept for a feature film. So it's kind of a truncated version of what I hope to turn into the feature. So.
Oh, yeah. Judy Copeland, who wrote this story and was a co-star in my father's fabulous funeral, brought the concept to me, and she had a story and an outline and said, can you turn this into a screenplay and let's get it done. So that's where the idea was generated from her.
For Screen Test, I had done I had been writing some pilots and some ideas, and they were in, development, going absolutely nowhere. So I was like, what can I do now that I can be in control of? So I took an idea that I wrote from one of the pilots and thought, how can I film this in the most straightforward way to prove to myself that I can write and direct, and prove to the people that I brought on to work with me that I can do that. And so that's how the concept kind of got started, from one piece of something else I had written into, bringing it through to real life.
As we did in the pandemic, myself, Gamal, and Corrado, my other collaborators, we actually had a project kind of fall out of happening because of, obviously. And so after a few months of kind of thinking about, where we are and what we wanted to do, this, one inebriated night, we kind of got together. and this is kind of what came out of that. Yeah.
I love it. So did you are you guys actually roommates?
We are. Colorado is my husband and Gamal is our other roommate,
there
and
you
so
go.
we all still live together.
Was there a closet incident that led to this? Like,
No closet, but we did run out of spoons a lot, and so that maybe the subconscious of the silver spoon is there.
I love it. Darby?
Yeah, so for Compost Like a Pug, I was just really inspired by what the organization was doing during the pandemic. Plus the dog is really cute. And the way that they do their branding is heavily based on the dog, and so I just thought, what if we saw this from the perspective of the dog? And it was such a fun day of shooting. There were truly no bad shots of this dog. And then, it was just something where I was really inspired. And then one night I was like, oh, I could totally think a script for this. And then one thing led to another, and we filmed it. Episode 2, I'm an actor mainly, so that was just heavily inspired by working at a restaurant and having really uncomfortable conversations with guests all the time. They're like, oh, you're an actor, let's just keep talking about it, and you're never gonna leave. It's like, oh good. So that was...
And they always tip badly, I'm assuming, the ones who keep you talking the longest.
They just get a little too drunk, and it's like, all right, cool. But yeah, that was pretty easy to write. It's just some of it was like, oh yeah, I remember this guy saying this, so yeah.
Jace?
I think starting Hideous House, myself and Belle Ingraham, who co-produced the film with me, we were just really interested in like this vision of like a road trip film, and we also were like fascinated with some of the like abandoned places in North Carolina where it was shot. So I think we started there. There was also like text poetry that she had written that I think inspired a lot of the trajectory of the film, and then movement as well.
And so the next question is kind of, how did you get started in film, and like, what's your film background? So if you want to start that, I'll take it back down.
Right, so funnily enough, I'm not a filmmaker at all. Well, I guess I am, sort of. But,
you are now.
Yeah, I suppose so. Which is why I feel like the film that we made ended up being a little bit like out of left field, just because like my background is mainly in dance, Belle's background is in, literature, writing. The only person on the film that actually knew how to make film was our cinematographer, Seth. So yeah, I think it was just something that was like a spur of the moment move, especially since like live performance was just not happening at the time, and we were all laid off of work, so we figured,
You
we
had
have a nice
time.
enough camera.
Darby?
Yeah, so Non-Union Girl, the first episode was like the first thing I truly ever directed, coming from the acting side. But even then I was always kind of writing little sketches about being an actor. And then it was just something that was in my head for so long that I was like, oh, I gotta make this. And so I had a lot of director friends that I talked to and, learned how to write a script in the right format, like really starting from nothing. And then ended up filming it, and that was a big deal because I had never been on the other side before, and it was really cool to just have a very specific idea in mind and get to control it. And also like be in control of the footage, because that's such a thing that we always have to wait for. And then the pug thing was very out of left field too, because I was like, I don't know how to do something like this. But yeah, it really helps finding a collaborator who does have experience with that, and I had a really good cinematographer, John, that worked on that. So we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we are theater kids at heart, so this was definitely our first, as Show Dogs was a theater company at first, and now multimedia, baby, so. But,
And you're killing it.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you. But yeah, so this was our first jump into film, and I think that we've had like writers' rooms that we've had people do write screen. you know what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
But,
You've kind of been in writer's circles.
Yeah,
And yes.
exactly, and so, kind of just taking that knowledge, Conrado has kind of been immersed in film for a very long time, just personally, and so we all kind of thought like this was something that we had a passion for, even though a lot of our tools were theatrical, that we thought that we could bring some of that into making a web series, and so it's kind of what we did.
Courtney.
Yeah, so I'm also a theater kid and did the New York acting scene for about 10 years and then realized that I wanted to transition more into writing, and like I had mentioned, that I'm a little bit, maybe all directors are a little bit of a control freak, and I don't really like waiting for people to tell me when I can make my thing. So in ultimate like procrastination, I had a baby, and then
That was your procrastination.
yeah. Well,
You slacker.
yeah, I know, just raising human life. And so, our daughter turned 1 in December of 2019, and in January of 2020, I said to my husband, if I just wait around, like, our daughter's gonna be 18, and I'm not gonna have done anything, but I'm really scared because, like, will that make me a terrible mom and a terrible partner and all this stuff? And he was like, oh, no, that's your risk, just go, just do it, and we'll figure it out. So Screen Test was my first attempt to define myself as that, and yeah, that's how it started.
Mark.
Oh boy. Yeah, I've done this my whole life. Like 40 short films. I've been finalist with the Sundance Institute Screenwriters Lab. I mean, I have a long list. I don't want to get into my resume.
No, please do.
But I started out as a theater major in college, and then I booked a contract with Ringling Brothers Circus as a clown, and I lived in the circus for a while.
Oh, wow.
And then I ran away from the circus and I joined New York City. And I started doing all kinds of creative things like stand-up comedy, improv, Shakespeare, whatever I could do. And I went to an open call for a feature film, and I got the lead role in this movie all of a sudden. It was a really wonderful, SAG production and everything. And I got hooked. That was it. I said, I'm doing movies for the rest of my life. And I just kept auditioning. Did things, all kinds of roles. I've worked with Tom Selleck, been on Boardwalk Empire, done all kinds of things. Now I have a TV pilot in development called The Blind Detective. And I've done about 40 short films, actually, and I've won tons of awards.
Yes, I've read. I just wanted you to tell them.
But just a funny story. I mean, recently my younger brother found some 8mm footage lying around his basement, and he was able to digitalize it. And I saw this movies that I made when I was 15 years old with my little brother and little sister, just screwing around in the house. And I said, holy cow, that's it. That's where it all comes from. Because it was so charming and adorable for a little kid thing.
Yeah, back when editing was literal cutting.
Literally splicing at home and scotch taping things together.
I talk about Avid and people think I'm, ancient.
Yeah, right. Right.
Mike.
I started out as a photographer. I liked it. I tried my hand in filmmaking. I loved it. Here we are. That's all I got. Yeah. I could go,
There's so much more.
I could go off on a tangent, but
That's what this is for.
so I started off as a photographer. My buddy got funding for his first horror film, and right out of college he hired me as the set photographer. And that's the best job for anybody, because I was just a fly on the wall, and then I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
But it was also kind of as I was watching that film be produced, I'm like, this is not working. I don't want to make a film like that. I'd rather do it this way. And it was a real you kind of learn by doing. But
Well, that's
yeah.
the horror that your BTS guy is taking notes, oh, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Don't direct like that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would never open my mouth
No,
on
I
set and just
know.
be that's not how you handle that act. But it was just I would give different direction or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then I just started doing it. Yeah. I don't have any other like way of saying it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it short, and I always enjoyed writing, and I wanted to direct more than I wanted to write, but I really started putting my head into writing, so I had something to direct, if that makes sense. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. So, advice for young filmmakers or people starting out, or film fellows, what's your best advice if you could narrow it down? I know that you have a lot of advice following you so much, that you've done so much, but if you could give one piece of advice, what would it be?
It's a cliche to say just do it, or like just follow your dream, but I would say the thing that probably gave me the most wind in my sails, get rid of the negative people out of your life. Yeah.
That's great. That's great advice.
Well, I've always said, follow your passion and all else falls into place. But when it comes to film, I think you really do have to put in some extra effort to do something that is well-made, like a well-made play, something that holds together and stands together in a formative, constructive, intelligent way. And that will move you forward.
Some advice I'm trying to follow myself right now is to do things that you can really fail at. Like, don't write a script in your kitchen and then be like, I'll be on HBO. I mean, that would be great, but like, do it in a way that you could really fail. Like,